Greetings to you this day. This is Michelle Strickland, and I'm coming to you today with a social skills lesson. When I do social skills, I normally do it on a Tuesday. So the topic for today's social skills is I'm going to give you some tips for dealing with trauma, okay? Dealing with trauma is a sensitive and complex process. It's important to remember that seeking professional help from a therapist or a counselor is crucial. If you get to a point where you feel like you're having some difficulties. I'm going to discuss some practical tips to help you cope with some trauma, okay? Seek professional help. A trained therapist can provide the necessary support and guidance. I'm going to leave that there. Some people may not be able to afford to, but I'm going to keep going, okay? I'm going to keep going. Practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding. Establish a safety plan. Create a plan to ensure your physical and emotional safety. Just think it through, whatever your situation is, where you're at right now. I got to go through this list because I have a long list. Acknowledge your feelings. Allow yourself to feel the emotions associated with the trauma. I can't stress that enough. I'm dealing with trauma right now. And so I'm talking to you about stuff that I'm not dealing with, And I was in the field, I've worked in in high pressure situations where it was crucial. Everything was time frames and quality and all of that. And then dealing with dysfunctional, having dealt with some dysfunctional people, been there trying to navigate past all and through that. So I understand what it's like. It's not easy, but you can manage your stress. I use these tips. What I'm talking to you about, I actually practice this stuff and have used these tips and use them when I need to. First, like I said, acknowledge your feelings. Allow yourself to feel the emotions associated with the trauma. It's okay. Don't sit there in it, though, Just because you're hurting and sad and everything, that doesn't mean that you can't function. You have to still function. Get a grip about it. I know it's not easy. If you've heard my stuff, if I've told you everything I've been through, people would be, I don't know, you wouldn't believe it. But I'm still here, so I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to try to be my best self in spite of it. Practice grounding techniques. Engage your senses to stay present in the moment. Go back to my discussions from yesterday. I give you, explanations about what grounding is and so on and so forth. Practice deep breathing. Deep, slow breaths can help calm your nervous system, and that's true. I'm talking to you about stuff I've done. Establish a routine. Consistency can provide a sense of stability and control. I have a routine every day. It's very important, and I'm retired, but I'm working on other things. I'm not just gonna just throwing up my hands and say, okay, forget it. No, I'm still gonna be doing some other things. I'm just building again right now. But I'm giving you practical tips on things that can help you to manage and navigate through these difficult times, your own self, because you may not be able to get out there and go to a therapist, or you might not have that accessible to you wherever you're at in the world. But you can balance your own self, And if people would listen to some of the techniques that I give them, and you'd have to practice it. It takes practice. It'll work. I'm living proof that it can work. I'm going through a lot, and and I'm managing to stay calm about it. It is nothing to really, it's something to be concerned about, but I got to be calm about it because there's nothing else I can do but get through it. That's what people would want for me to do, is to be nervous and upset, and I'm not giving that to them, especially when I'm not in the wrong. Set boundaries. Clearly communicate your needs and limits to others, and I do that with people. When I don't interact with too many people, but when I do, I'm very upfront with them right off the bat. How where I'm at with it, and and I'm trying to get to the objective on what's the purpose for the interaction, because I don't want to just be frivolously, giving people my time for nothing, for skins and grins. I'm not doing that anymore. Wasting my time, on people that aren't serious about life, I don't have time for that. And I don't want to be around people that don't have goals and objectives. I refuse to. Engage in relaxation techniques. Meditation, yoga, or progressive muscle relaxation can be helpful. Limit exposure to triggers. Identify and avoid situation or stimuli that trigger distressing emotions. And I'm like that. You know, when I'm getting to know people, you don't just know somebody right off the bat. You know, you got to get to know them and see, you know, if it's somebody that you be compatible with. You know, and I'm watching people. You know, and if they have a pattern of inconsistency and any discussions around them bring on sources of confusion, and I decide whether or not that's somebody I want to deal with. Because if I'm going to deal with you and I have to be confused about anything, then you might not be somebody I'm trying to be around, you know, because I'm not going to live my life like that around anybody, you know, not in my personal life. If I have to interact with people like that, you know, professionally or when I'm going to the store, that's one other thing. But in my personal life, I'm not going to give you much time because you're a waste of my time, you know. Express yourself. Use journaling, art, or other creative outlets to process your feelings, and I do that. That's why I developed all these different lessons that you know, that I record and release. You know, most of these are lessons, you know, for self-improvement. But I'll go ahead and I release it because maybe somebody else out there can get something out of it. I'm kind of a nerdy square kind of person. I like to kick it and have fun, but when it comes to self-improvement, I'm trying to do that every single day because I have things that I'm trying to do and I'm going to get them done. And you can't be all over the place in your thoughts and emotions and get things done if you're all over the place and you're thinking, and then if you're allowing the wrong type of people to be around you because they'll discourage you from reaching your goals because they'll keep so much drama and trauma going, it makes it hard for you to concentrate. Connect with supportive people. Seek friends and family who can provide understanding and encouragement. Nourish your body. Eat balanced meals. Stay hydrated and prioritize physical well-being. I eat very well. That's one thing. I when it comes to food, I make sure I eat very well. And I cook just about every day. Not always every day, but if I'm not cooking every day, I'm warming up leftovers or something like that. I eat at home most of the time, you know, because I want to make sure that I'm eating a certain way, you know. I'm funny about my food, but I don't limit what I eat. I eat what I want to eat, you know. I try to be healthy about it. I modify the ways that I prepare my food. You know, I don't always eat, you know, a lot of foods prepared a certain way all the time, but I don't stop myself from doing that when I feel like it, you know. And so that's important for me, is to be around somebody who has the same type of temperament and disposition as I do, you know, because I'm a homebody person. Yeah, I go out and do stuff, you know, but I don't have to be out there every day. You know, I'm more of a homebody. I want to have everything I want at home so I can cook and have whatever entertainment. You know, if I want to go out and do something, then I prepare for that. You know, I go out and walk to the store or something like that, or get some fresh air. But I try to be very intentional with my movements. Engage in physical activity. Exercise can help regulate your emotions and reduce stress. Practice mindfulness. Cultivate awareness of the present moment without judging. Educate yourself about trauma. I'm going to just keep going down the list. Avoid self-medication. Be careful with the substances. Engage in relaxing activities. You know, like take baths, listen to calming music, you know, do things that, you know, work in your garden, whatever, something simple and easy. Engage in meaningful activities. Practice gratitude. Focus on positive aspects of your life, which is what I do. I have everything to be thankful for. I'm not trying to compete with anybody, you know, so, you know, my standards are up here though. For whatever I'm doing, I'm going to do it and be top notch at it if I'm going to do it. But, and I want to be around like-minded people because they'll understand me then. They'll understand my drive. Practice gratitude. Utilize coping strategies. Practice patience. Challenge your negative thoughts, okay? Replace self-critical or negative thoughts with balanced perspectives. Set realistic goals and celebrate your progress.